Alrighty, y'all. Happy Sunday. Welcome back. Hope you've had a good weekend. This again is a non-believer's take on the Bible. Nothing really in depth, just me reading the pages and giving my interpretation. Definitely like to go further into these things, but for now, I just want to read essentially uninfluenced. Just this is my personal opinion on what I'm taking off the page. Later on, I definitely hope again to have some conversations with other people to really dive into the meaning of different things. Again, this is completely out of respect for my sister and wanting to read the Bible that she gave to me many years ago before her wedding. This is not meant to insult or um, poke fun of or challenge in any way, or it's nothing going against anybody of faith. It is not my journey into faith. It is not me looking for a reason not to believe. It is just a sign of respect for my family and uh, really an attempt. I'm recording and giving my opinion in an attempt to bridge the gap between those that are of faith and those who are not, because honestly, we are a lot more alike than we are different. And I definitely find people who don't have faith to be more insulting to those who do, or dismissive or degrading. And I just, no matter what your beliefs are, I just think that's uncalled for and unnecessary. So, again, this is my personal interpretation. Hopefully, later on, can start having conversations with other people and getting their interpretations. I do hope to start doing this live. If it kind of ends up going anywhere, that way we can go a little bit longer and have discussions in real time rather than y'all just hearing my opinion. So, if you're interested, if you like what you see, please make sure to like or subscribe, whatever platform you're on. It would definitely help me out and hopefully bring a little what's the word? I don't even know. Just help bring down the tone a little bit with discussion. I know the internet's a great place for that. So this is hoping against hope, but hey. Alrighty. So with Adam and Eve, it is and the fall, it is actually rather quick. I only have a handful of notes. Basic reading through the scripture, kind of a quick summary. It explains that the beginning is the account of God creating the earth and heaven. Now, before any shrubs appeared, the streams appeared, and then God created man from the dust of the ground and breathed life into his nostrils, and that man became a living being. That's Adam. The God had planted a garden in the east in Eden, and essentially told Adam, "Everything is here for you. However, um, do not go near, do not touch, do not eat from the tree of knowledge." The rivers, displaying the four rivers. I should have written these names down. That's on me. Honestly, I'm gonna butcher the names except for the Euphrates and the Tigris. The other two, I'm really just gonna ruin, so I don't want to even try. I apologize again. This is not to insult anybody. That's why I don't want to pronounce things wrong. Um, but Garden of Eden, it was everything you could imagine. God has Adam there, tells him again, do not eat. Everything is here for you. Everything is sustainable for you. Just do not eat from that tree, from the forbidden tree of knowledge. So then he tried to find all the living creatures, or he took all the living creatures to try and find a mate for Adam, but nothing fit. Nothing was a good fit. So that's when the Lord caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep, and while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs, closed the place with flesh, and then the Lord God made a woman from the rib. And that is, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. And then it's like, that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. So, just on the Adam and Eve part, real quick. Again, this is actually, honestly, it's a beautiful story of creation. But couple of questions, and again, this is not coming from any sort form of research. I did not ask these questions and then dive in. This is, I read the book, I wrote it down. So I may answer these questions later. I want to make that very clear. Um, but there's kind of the basic questions of why put the tree of knowledge right in the heart of where you're putting man and then tell him to keep away from it. Um, because I mean, really, Adam doesn't, what knowledge was given to Adam by the virtue of creating life? Is it simply everything except for good and evil? Is it, I don't know if this is really making sense. It's probably going to sound a little rambly, but it's, you're forbidden from the tree of knowledge, but what knowledge was Adam given to be fearful of, say, God's wrath? Or you will certainly die. That is what God says: is do not eat the forbidden fruit, for you will certainly die. Um, it just, that's, is it literally the fear of God? Is Adam being the first person afraid of God? Um, like, does he, how do you have a full understanding of right and wrong when you don't have an understanding of good versus evil? And so it's, is it just an ignorance, or was, of what right and wrong is, or what good and evil is, or I don't know. I'm getting rambly, and I apologize, but that it just leaves me with questions. So that's definitely something I would want to look into further. Is what was the base knowledge of Adam, and how did he interpret the world that he was given? And again, was it out of fear? Was it out of love and respect? Was it out of understanding that God is God? I'm a little, I'm interested in that. And then saying you will certainly die. Obviously, he did not certainly die. So that's, again, it's out of fear, but did God kind of command over Adam and the Eden and the rest of the earth that he created through fear? Because I don't think so. I mean, God is always taught to be out of love. So it's a thought that again, it's just something I'm interested in. Um, of course, why was Eve made of Adam and not the dust of the earth as Adam was? Is an interesting question to me. Just why not do the exact same thing? Is it because you get the exact same thing? I mean, you don't want to create, why, it's like, why wouldn't man be a companion? Because it doesn't necessarily go into spreading seed or having kids and building people on earth. So if you're talking about tilling the ground and working the animals with companionship versus, because it doesn't talk about the, love. It talks about being the same, part of the same flesh. Again, it's like that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife and they become one flesh. Um, I don't know. It just, again, it's almost like, hey, yeah, I'm really dumbing it down, and I apologize, but you'd figured working the earth and just companionship, because that's how it comes off to me, is it's for companionship, not necessary for love and spreading humans. So I'm curious about that. All right, and then the fall is when the serpent tricks the woman into eating an apple, tricks eat into eating um, fruit from the tree. And it's not necessarily, the way I see it is, it's not necessarily a trick. It is almost, because when God says you will certainly die, that is not true. So was that a trick? And then the serpent is revealing that the trick was actually God saying you will certainly die. Um, that part, certainly the serpent sitting there and throwing rocks into the gears or wrenching the gears. Like, I can understand how that could be trickery from the Lord's perspective. However, from the serpent's perspective, it was honesty versus trickery. Again, really, really would love to talk about this. This, like, the biggest things that generally cause problem in the world is, or in the world I say, but in religion versus non-religion, is creation, Adam and Eve, the fall, like basically the first Genesis. The first part of Genesis covers so much already. But yeah, so the serpent tricks even eating the apple, or eating the fruit from the tree, I should say, and then he gives Adam the fruit. And then they both have an awakening, they realize they're naked and they feel shame. Now, good, that's where it goes back to in Adam and Eve, where they talk about, does Adam really understand what's right or wrong? Because good and evil made him feel shame. What else is that awakening? What other, so far it's just good, evil. It's the knowledge of good and evil. They now understand that they feel shame. So what else was blocked off from that side? Like, does Adam and Eve, or does Adam, or do Adam and Eve truly understand the punishment of God before eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge? Um, because everything that goes with when God finds them, it's because you have done this. They curses the snake, and then curses Eve and Adam. And with Eve, I'll make your pains in childbearing very severe. The painful child labor you will give With painful labor you will give birth to children. Like, how does Eve truly understand that when the only two human beings are Adam and Eve? No one's been born. So again, it's, do they suddenly have this knowledge of birth because of the tree, the knowledge of good and evil? That part just, I'm confused by it. It doesn't totally make sense to me. Curses Adam, since until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you will return. I actually just, it's a hard line. Okay, so here's another interesting line. The man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. So, what it sounds like is the whole point of don't eat the tree, or don't eat from the tree of knowledge, and also don't eat from the tree of life, is because I don't want you to become a god. I don't want you, if you live forever and you have the knowledge of good and evil, then you are a god. That's how I read that. And again, something that I mentioned last week is the man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. When I hear those languages, or that kind of language, or those words, especially from essentially quoting God, is us. He has now become one of us. So to me, again, it goes back to the idea of there being one God for us amongst multiple gods. And I don't, again, none of this is to make anything other than my interpretation. But when I read that, it is, there's only one God for our reality, for our existence, for our being. However, and whether it's another reality, whether it's in another plane of existence, whatever, there are, there is one God to rule over existence in that plane of reality. Um, Again, that's just my understanding of what I'm reading. Um, yeah, so that's basically my last note, was God was afraid of creating another God. And I'm curious as to why that is. Um, I mean, in a more human sense, I guess. I don't even know if that makes sense. I mean, you're God, you're creating life, you're creating sentience. However, not too much. Um, Again, it's just, it's overall, I mean, it's a beautiful story of creation, and it answers questions that, especially back then, people were looking to get answers for. Where did we come from? Why are we like this? Why is this way? Why is man and woman? Why childbirth is the way it is? Why all this stuff? And that's one thing about religion is, with faith, and especially back then, they were answers to people seeking answers. They were People had questions, couldn't explain it, and here you have an explanation. Um, Now your faith in that explanation is really what it comes down to. Alrighty, y'all. That's my look into Adam and Eve and the fall. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, definitely feel free to leave them in the comments. I'd love to talk more about this. I hope to see you guys next Sunday. Take care.